Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining me for our session this morning. My name is Jared Uze. My co-presenter, Dr. Esperanza Zenon, could not be with us this morning, but our presentation is titled E-Learning Innovation with OER COVID Response at River Parishes Community College. So this particular session, I'm going to focus on what we did as a course redesign process that we dealt with academic and technical faculty at my community college, River Parishes, down in Louisiana, for any of you that were curious. We followed this course redesign process as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was in order to transform 8 tech courses into an online format using open content, open educational resource material. So during the presentation, I'll talk to you a little bit about what our process was, how we located some of these credible sources for OER that we used for these tech courses, how we applied our course redesign process to the tech classes, and some of the challenges and insights, lessons that we learned while incorporating our OER for these technical classes. So a little bit of background information to begin about my community college, our system, LCTC, which is the Louisiana Community and Technical College System, and a grant that Dr. Zenon and I wrote for the COVID response. So when COVID hit back in March and the pandemic started and we had to pretty much take our entire community college and go virtual, as maybe a lot of you can identify with. A lot of our gen ed courses, so the math, the Englishes, the histories, psychology, sociology, arts, all of those courses already we teach at our college in an abundance in either online or hybrid formats. When the COVID pandemic hit us, it was mentioned by our technical college system that we needed to start getting at our college level, more of our technical classes had to fit this model of being online or hybrid. So the technical classes that we have at our college are P-Tech for the plants, that we have in an abundance of down here in Louisiana, drafting, millwright, nursing is also falls in our technical degree programs. So those classes are mainly a lot of hands-on material. And so we wanted to start helping these courses become more comfortable with online and hybrid instruction. So the grant we wrote was to get funding for faculty to work in teams. And we built teams of 3 faculty, technical faculty. 1 tech faculty member on each of these teams was an expert to their content level. So P-Tech, HVAC, drafting, the nursing program, millwright, plant safety. And then we grabbed some general ed faculty that were experts in, since they have already been in online and hybrid in their careers, they were more of a course design and a resource finder. Because see, not only was online and hybrid brand new to some of our tech faculty, but finding OER resources was also pretty brand new because these faculty are pretty much using resources given by the technical programs and doing a lot of hands-on things. So the overall design of our grant was to build content and find content to put in separate modules in Canvas, which is the LMS that we use. And then we reviewed the quality of this content at the very end. Okay. So just as a shout out to some of my peers as faculty participants. So what you can see here is a list of the tech faculty, those content experts. And I went over these subjects already, but I'll say it again. HVAC, so heating and air conditioning. PTech, which is our plant operators. Nursing, millwright, drafting. And then we had our PTech professor that was kind of over the overall tech faculty. And then some of the gen ed faculty, some of the faculty members that were proficient in finding resources, as well as doing things online before, an art instructor, psychology, biology, mathematics, which myself, physical science, Dr. Zenon, and an English professor who also helped us review the content. Okay. So to be specific, some of the technical courses that we helped redesign here was plant safety, which is a PTech class, Millwright 1 and Millwright 2, which involves rigging, application, and equipment, the fundamentals of drafting and design, right? HVAC, again, heating and air conditioning, the basic body structure, administrative procedures, and clinical procedures, which were all in the nursing category. Okay. And so I'll hang out on these next few slides a little bit longer for those of you that want to kind of take some notes of some of the sources that we found. We did find an abundance of sources for these tech classes. I won't lie to you and tell you that it was very easy to find. It did take some hunting. But if you really know what you're looking for with open educational resources, they're out there. And this definitely shows that they're out there. So with the PTech classes, we were able to find one of our main sources was through Intellis Learning. And this particular source dealt with some basic physics that the PTech classes would need for some of their introductory level classes, and like the fluid mechanics information that they find in their program. With the allied health and nursing, we found this health science curriculum source that was all licensed by Creative Commons. Right? With millwright and drafting, our system office, Louisiana Community Technical College, was able to find us this 180 Skills company that we were able to use some assessments and presentations from that company to help with the millwright and drafting courses. Okay. And then HVAC, we dealt with finding this source called All About Circuits. And there were some worksheets and some information, some reference material there. As the purpose of this particular conference, Open Education, all of the sources that we found were a open source license. You can see the PTech course. The Intellis Learning was CC BY, the Allied Health, a Creative Commons license. And the HVAC was design science license, which we had to go through our librarian and the system office's information to find out that that was also a open source license that we could use. Okay. So our process pretty much followed this outline here. The tech faculty jotted down some of the needs that they were looking for with what we as the academic faculty could find for them. We were not building full courses. As I'll mention in the next slide, that the timeline was pretty quick for us to get this done. So we just wanted to know, did you want us to maybe find you, you know, information about this chapter or information about this topic in your course? So we weren't building full courses, we were building modules that could go into their courses, okay? What we did was we as the academic faculty, once we had a list of what the tech faculty was looking for, we hunted and curated OER materials. And then we worked together between the tech faculty and the academic faculty groups, those groups of 3, to make sure that this material we found was what they were looking for, okay? The academic faculty would build the material out in modules in Canvas. So maybe we built pages, or maybe we built discussion forums, or maybe we built quizzes as a list of things that we built for these faculty members in their modules. The tech faculty would then come back around and look at the material in Canvas and say, yep, this looks good, or no, this material is not really, it's maybe too high of a level, or it's not really the scope of the material of my course that I'm looking for. So we had some back and forth with the tech and the academic faculty as we were building these modules, this information. So we had to revise a lot. We had to go through a few weeks of building, revising, and then right at the very end, when we claimed that, you know, we don't have much time left on our timeline here, we did a short review of the modules for quality. And some of the things that we reviewed for were objectives, because RPCC follows Quality Matters. So we reviewed for having course and module objectives. We checked to make sure that directions were there for any assignments or assessments activities. And just the overall quality to make sure things were accessible as well, because that's been a really big push from our community college as well, to make sure what we post is in the accessible format, okay? And all of our modules that we created went into one Canvas course, and once we were done, we uploaded these modules into Canvas Commons. And for those of you not familiar with Canvas, Canvas Commons is the public domain where once you share it, anybody else can find it. So if you are in Canvas as your LMS and you are looking, maybe you can find these modules that we created for these particular courses. Okay. Great. Some of the challenges and insights that we found with this particular grant and this particular project. One of the big challenges was a very accelerated timeline. In the past, our community college has done things of this nature where we would build full courses and modules, but we would get an entire semester to do this. Because of the COVID pandemic, we were basically told to do this in a month over the summer because they wanted to make sure these tech courses were ready for August when the next semester started. One of the other understandings, one of the other challenges was the understanding of OER and CC BY. Our gen ed faculty, some of them that could find material, still had to be notified that, hey, that material is great, but it is a publisher content that has a copyright on it. So make sure you are looking for OER and CC BY material, which I can tell you is not new to our college. We've been managing OER CC BY for a few years now. But some of the faculty are just now getting involved with OER. So we did have to remind them of checking out the license material. There came a bit of a skill with curating the material in Canvas. So making, pages of material rather than just uploading documents. At our college, we like to make things pretty easily streamlined for the student. Making discussion forums, making quizzes. So while some of our faculty were the design experts, they are design experts, but they may not have been too familiar with maybe making a discussion forum because they use publisher content rather than OER content, and they were using the content from the publisher company. And so it just took just a little bit of training there for Canvas material. And then accessibility was a big one. Myself and Dr. Zenon and Miss Walzak, our English professor, are all members of our online review committee at our college. And so we had to check accessibility pretty, intently there to make sure what we were providing was accessible for all of the students that could use it. Okay. Some of the insights that we found was that there indeed was a ton of resources available for these tech courses. You just have to really know where to look and how to find them. And then that communication is a big key to management of a team approach for redesign. We had some, which I guess another challenge would be miscommunication between the tech faculty and the academic faculty. So we did have some difficulty there. But when communication is done properly, it works out, and it's really great. So. Well, that concludes the presentation that I have, but I am definitely open for questions for anybody that has questions about anything that I shared during this presentation. So in the chat, what search terms should we use in Canvas Commons to find your courses? Obviously. Yeah, great question. Our system office is probably the one that has them loaded. So I would search LCTCS, which is our community and technical college system, maybe LCTCS COVID or LCTCS OER. I will put my email in the chat, and I shared it right at the very end here. If, oops, I got out of the presentation here. I scrolled too fast, but make sure. But you can go ahead and email me if you need some assistance, maybe finding the resources. So Let's see. How are the resources on accessibility? Did you find many that needed work to be used? Most of our resources that we found that were OER, the provider of the resource did have accessible material. Some of the things that we did have to do on our own for accessibility, unfortunately, we found PowerPoint presentations that we had to do our own accessibility through. And if you've ever tried to make a PowerPoint accessible, it is a lot of effort. Word documents, we found Word documents that we had to make accessible, and those aren't terribly difficult. But thankfully, some of the PDFs we found were accessible. And just going into people's websites that they were sharing for OER were also accessibles. Let's see. You're welcome for sharing the presentation, Arnold. Let's see, Mary, can you speak to can you speak to the communication issues that arose and how they were resolved? Yeah, so when the tech faculty would tell us, I want information on millwright and rigging. Well, sure, that's the title of your course. I don't know what millwright and rigging means. So we need you to be more specific. Is there a chapter that you're looking for? Can you give us certain topics that we can search? And if you've ever searched for material before, you know that if you search on a smaller scale, it's easier to find than just typing in something like millwright. So that was a communication issue that we had to go about. And then the other thing with communication was just making sure that the faculty member would communicate, hey, I put all this stuff in there. Can you make sure you check it? And making sure that both parties knew that we had a really quick timeline. Let's see. Did you do any collaboration with instructional designers for the Canvas modules? We did not. Our college does not have an instructional designer on staff. Our faculty have taken Quality Matters courses. That is the extent of our design of quality for online courses. So we didn't get a chance to discuss with instructional designers, but we did keep the same template throughout. We had a page for objectives, a page for links of activities, and a page for links of assessments, and then everything in the module, and then a sources page. So we tried to be pretty simple as far as making sure everything fit the same model, just to make sure that it was easily done. Okay. Two last questions here. Am I doing okay on time, Melanie?
Yeah, we'll just probably stop recording it in just a minute here. But
okay, yeah. So last two questions in the chat. Other than guidance on CC BY reviewing, did you collaborate with your libraries in any other way? Other than CC BY, some of our faculty probably used our librarian just to find resources. Our librarians are definitely research savvy. So shout out to all of you librarians to help finding resources. I know my librarians have helped me out, so they are great with that situation. Like using the Google search for CC BY and open source material is a big one that I shared with our faculty as well, that I learned from my librarian in the past. And then last one here, could you also share your slide presentation in the chat? Let's see, I guess I could upload a file to the chat. I've actually never done that before. Let me see if I close it out and upload a file.
While you work on that, Jared, I'm going to stop recording, but everyone's welcome to stay for another 15 minutes for questions if anything else comes up. And
okay, perfect.
Thank you very much for your great presentation, Jared.
Oh, thank you very much, Melly. I appreciate it. Yeah, let me see if I can let's see, Sophia, you asked about the slide presentation. Let me see.